core, don't be weak. As they sow, they will reap. Turn the other cheek and don't give in. That old wheel will roll around again.
When love is gone, and the one you thought would stay does you wrong, and you're left alone to pay the price is high, but somehow you survive, don't give in. That old wheel will roll around again.
That old wheel is gonna roll around once more. When it does, it will even up this core, don't be weak. As they sow.
G'day, Legions. Welcome back to Who is Your Hero? This podcast was built on one simple belief. Heroes aren't just the ones you see in the movies or the history books. Sometimes they're the everyday people who take the hardest moments life can throw at them and somehow turn that pain into something that helps others. Today's guest is exactly that. A bloke from the Burdekin, a father, a man who refused to let tragedy be the final chapter of his story. Ren Pedersen, OAM. After losing his daughter to diffuse intrinsic protein gloma, DIPG will refer to, now one of the most aggressive childhood brain cancers known, Ren made a decision. Instead of disappearing into grief, he stood up and created Ren's $1 million mission. A mission to raise funds, awareness and hope for families facing the same unimaginable fight. The Nielsen Foundation donated $250,000 to Ren's $1 million mission to help fund research in DIPG. That's what happens when purpose meets courage. And today we're going to talk about grief, resilience, fatherhood, and how one man turned heartbreak into legacy that is helping children around the world. Ren Pedersen, welcome, mate, to Who's Your Hero?
Mate, it's a privilege. I'm a little bit embarrassed by that, but yeah, I'm truly privileged as I am.
But I look at it on the other thing, whereas I'm now, after what happened to me, searching for everyday heroes, and you don't like being called that title, do you?
No, mate, I think heroes, it's an overblown sort of word. A lot of times, someone kicks a goal in a soccer match or NRL player scores a win, they're heroes. Mate, the true heroes are the people, like yourself, making the world a better place, and the people you see in the hospitals and the nurses, stuff like that. They're real heroes,
Yeah.
I'm just a crane driver, mate.
And it's quite interesting here. We have a bit of a chat in the prelude, and I've always got to start the podcast because we start talking about really, really good stuff. But we're sitting here at the sea bar, and I love the ocean and looking at Magnetic Island. I must say already, the first time I've been here, and the staff are absolutely amazing.
Oh, fair dude.
I generally get stuck at longboards, but I've never had a look at this aspect. But looking around here, there's probably 30 to 40 people in here.
Yeah.
And how many stories would be out there?
Exactly, mate. And see, great staff, great supporters of myself as well, that they do a lot of good things around town now. I'm glad you like this spot.
It's beautiful. Now, before we get into the heavy stuff, well, it's not going to be that heavy. It's just going to be a reminiscent about what you're doing. But we'll start simple. If we were sitting at a pub in the Burdekin right now having a schooner, how would you each introduce yourself to someone who's never heard of you?
Mate, I'm just a crane driver.
You just said it to me before.
Just a crane driver, mate, It's essentially.
That's it. I'm Ren, I'm a crane driver. So you don't disclose all the other stuff you're doing? They prompt you, or they...
Everyone's got interesting stories of, you hear other people's.
You're a good listener?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I hope so.
So tell us about growing up in the Burdekin. I know, what kind of kid were you?
Mate, I grew up without a dad. My mum was a nurse. She was a maternity nurse, and I had a very free-spirited childhood. I was just did whatever. I never ran with one particular group. I was just always a bit of a loner, but had a not a horrific, but primary school was pretty tough under sort of strict Catholic auspices. Never we used to cop and flogging. Never seen any of that the sexual abuse side, mercifully, but we saw a hell of a lot of stuff that was pretty bad, like demoralizing, demeaning stuff. Went to high school at Air High, just an average student. Couldn't wait to get the hell out and just play sport, but you just look out the window and you just want to just waiting for the lunch bell. That's all that was a bit.
The guy kicked the footy.
Yeah. Then later in school, Buzz, I did discover a footing. So I played footy a fair bit. And then left town maybe in the late 80s. Moved to Townsville, and I've reconnected with the Burdekin in the last couple of years, especially. Buzz, and mate, you don't appreciate small town values until you leave.
Yeah.
Yeah, and places like the Burdekin, and I guess Ingham or Charlestown would be similar, I guess. There are values there. But the Burdekin especially has, it acknowledges achievements, and there's certain ethics in that place that I have appreciated in the later years.
It's quite interesting because I don't know. Do you know Danny McLaughlin? He's a good mate of mine, and well, a very good himself and Marie basically took me under the wing for 4 months while I was ill. Gave me a bed and gave me some comfort and gave me some good meals to recover. But a lot of his mates are all Burdekin boys.
Yeah.
And there is something different about a Burdekin boy, isn't there?
Mate, there is, and there's a
lot of loyalty there.
There is, and you kind of don't appreciate it until you leave and come back.
Yeah.
And I reconnect with people I've been to school with. It was just like yesterday, I was on the phone. I just made a phone call to a friend. A friend answered it, and I asked her name. Oh, yeah, so, went from the Burdekin, and well, we chatted half, and then we just looked. Yeah.
Like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
Do you find, I'll go back, I'm born and bred in Melbourne, but I spent a lot of my...
I can't win a war.
No, it wasn't too bad. But I moved country-wise and followed mum and dad a bit. They moved to Ballarat and down Warrnambool, Great Ocean Road and all that, where I played a lot of my AFL footy. And some of my mates, well, they're sort of not, life's changed for me, but they haven't left their postcode.
Yeah.
It's quite amazing. And I'll go down and visit Dad, who's 91 now, bless his soul. And they'll ring me up and say, oh, do you want to come for a beer? I said, well, I can't really drink now, but I'll come for a chat. And they go, what have you been up to? And I'll go, how long have you got? Because their story, generational, my story is like, fuck, you should have seen what I got up to. You'd be simpler. You've seen the world, you've passed and failed, and these guys have just played it safe. And I had a chat to my mate Cliff Pickey, who's the podcast I'll launch. Oh, probably in a couple of weeks. And we talked about postcodes, but they're happy. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? They're doing what they're doing. We're doing what we're doing. And you can never judge someone based on what your dreams and goals are to what they are. Do you know what I'm saying there?
I do. But traveling too expands the mind and expands your outlook. And a lot of, my missus is also from the Burdekin. She's from Boneville, which is almost in the Burdekin. Hasn't traveled all that much. Then the last 5 years we've been traveling a little bit, and you can see it's a bit of an epiphany for her to travel, whereas opposed to being in your little small town bubble, again, which is fine.
Yeah.
But you've got to experience, and in my experience, you appreciate things when you do travel. You might think that I've just come back from Tupperware in the States. What you see on TV and what the reality with the people is two different things. So traveling, small town mentality is fine, but I urge anyone in small towns, get out and travel. Whether or not it's in Australia, just travel. Explore the boundaries. I know folks from the Burdekin who've never even been past Port Douglas or out past Ravenswood. That's just,
So they're seemingly happy?
Oh, seemingly happy, and they have their counter lunch at the Clammy Hotel every Sunday, and that's all fine.
Yeah.
It's all fine, but I think it's good for the soul to travel a bit, I think.
We talked about in the green room, I call it, which is before we come on live, that we've both had experiences in Papua New Guinea. Now it's quite interesting because most people you go, oh, I've worked in Papua New Guinea for 5 years, and they go, oh wow, what was it like? But I said that to you, and you go, I've been there, and in fact, friends of yours had the Lamano resort, I think it was, where I stayed a few times at Kimbe. they say an old adage is it takes a village to raise a kid. Now, how true is that in Papua New Guinea?
Mate, it's a beautiful place to have Sing Sings perform for you. I had a child presented to me, like, and you sort of goes, "What is this? Like, do they want me?" Stuff. But just the beauty of the people there. Again, it's something that we can talk about, Buzz, but until people go there and experience those smiles with the red beetle nut on the thing or whatever, it's just how they're beautiful.
Did you try it?
I did once.
So did I. That went terrible, wasn't it? Didn't do it for me.
Oh, it didn't do it for me. Knocked my mate off his flip. Anyway.
I did. I tried their banana liqueur. That was pretty potent. What do they call that? I don't know. But the beetle nut, no.
I just stuck with the SP beer, and they tell you drink it in cans, don't drink it in stubbies, because as it goes along the assembly line, take it down with the dip.
So, you mentioned before that you lost your father early.
Yeah, well,
What age was that?
my dad passed away, I think roughly within the year my daughter passed away, but we weren't close. Mum and Dad broke up when I was in primary school early on. So kind of, we used to catch up intermittently, but then within later years, there was not much contact at all. So I just had a free childhood, mate, and just did my own thing.
So who? Your mother must have been an amazing person. It instilled the values.
We married in the 80s, to a local fitter and turner in there, and that was all good. Yeah, so I had a father figure there, but we're kind of not very close, I guess. He wasn't an overbearing sort of father, just a good guy, just a consummate good guy. Just that a consummate small town, rock solid person that we were talking about before. Yeah, so
Yeah, I think one of the great influences in my life. My dad's a legend, right? But the blokes he hung around with were absolute legends too. He picked his friends awesomely, I would have to say. Now, as a youngest of six, Down syndrome brother above me, I hated bullies. Like I got myself into some trouble fighting, right? And protecting has been my main thing. And here I am now at 57, tomorrow, actually, Ren, that I've still protected people.
know that I was going to say happens.
Yeah. But where I was heading there, a lot of the time I'd go to my dad's mates and tell them what I'd done before I'd tell my father. I was always going to tell my father, but I'd go to the mates and go, what? And they'd see me coming, what do you know this time? And I go, this is how I can't tell you, old man, but where I'm heading there, it's as parents, for those listening, not only is your child watching you, they're watching what you're doing.
Yeah.
And if you can surround yourself with good people, I don't necessarily say like-minded, because once again, you're going to have an array. But I think that's very keen. And it's obvious to me, sitting here with you now, that in your early days, your mother and the stepfather hung around with decent people around the area.
That's right. There was no,
It shaped you. It wasn't
yeah, mate, and there was no, even though we're pretty kind of dysfunctional family, I guess.
everyone. What's normal, mate?
Well, that's right. but there was always core values there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Lot of respect.
that's right. And one thing when I was growing up, I didn't know. I just grew up. If you gave your word on something or your band shows, you said you were going to do it, or you just do it. There's no, that's one thing that I think that was instilled in me, because I was sort of my own kid and I was a bit of a loner, I guess. I would never. There's black and white with what you say and do. There's no gray area. So it actually is a fatal flaw, because when my daughter was diagnosed with brain cancer, 20 years later, and I promised her that I would find a cure for this thing, I looked her in the eye and told her that. So that's the biggest cost that I have to bear at the moment. But because it's an effing big task. It's a far greater task than a crane driver from the Burdekin physics.
So it's quite strange. And a lot of the time in this podcast, my questions lead into the next question, and it's done it again. It's as if you've read my notes, but it happens. If someone from your school days was listening to this podcast right now, you got this wry grin on your face. What would they say about you reckon? And then all these years on, no.
Got the wrong bloke.
Really?
Yeah. I was just a kid in the corner who, well, yeah. Just, yeah.
And now you're on a mission, man, and
Well, it's kind of cool in a way. There's been that much created since my daughter died. There's charities and researchers and institutions all around the world that have stemmed from one little girl here in Australia, and another dad in the States called Keith Destrich, whose daughter Elena was sick just before my daughter. So we formed this sort of coalition
from America. Yeah.
So
How did you find each other?
well, back in the day, when my daughter was diagnosed, I was this old mindset. I don't even think I even knew how to use the internet. I had no social media skills, nothing.
Just a crane driver.
Just a crane driver. I didn't know. I poo-pooed everything. I think I was only I don't even think I might have had an email address. So I was the consummate, blue collar bugger that we'll talk about at the pub sort of fella.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, then when my daughter was diagnosed, I was told she was going to die, and it's this rare thing, and there's no one else that can help you, and no one else knows about it. Well, then I jumped on at the computer at the hospital, just worked out how to use it. I had someone show me how to turn it on, blah, blah, blah. And the guy came up in America whose daughter was suffering DIPG, and his name was Keith Destrich. And I reached out to Keith and found out, oh, shit, I'm not the only person in the world with a child with this. So then I formed a little group. They used to be called Yahoo groups.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
So I started up one of these. Next thing, think maybe a little bit like doing a podcast. I'm getting all this.
Like a chat sort of thing.
Exactly, but via email. Wasn't like a live stream. So all of us, it wasn't before too long, we had 10, 20, 30 people on this thing, all with kids dying from this thing. So I sort of took over that. So that was the foundation back then. That would have been 2008. So that was the first time ever in Australia that this ailment was ever recognised. And as parents, we found out we're not the only ones here. So it was a very powerful thing back in the day to find out, you're not alone. And it's a powerful thing knowing, and there'll be people listening to this podcast, in challenging times, well, you're not alone. There are people out there who care, and just hang in there. Today might be a bad day. Tomorrow, there's hope for.
Do you know the great Tim McKee?
Yeah.
OM that teed this up for us. I sat with him and he goes, Buzz, you're not going to have 3 bad days in a row.
Yeah.
You can have a bad one.
Yeah.
But potentially tomorrow's going to be better. But the third day, and you've just typified why I'm doing this podcast, because you're not alone.
Listen up. Let's have a short break and talking about, if you're thinking about cooking this week, don't. Rob and Katie at the Australian Hotel have already done the hard work. This is how the week rolls. Smash burger, crispy chips, pot of beer, Monday night, $20. Tuesdays, 400-gram rump, chip salad gravy, $20. 400 grams, that's not a snack, that's a damn commitment. Wednesday, $19, pot and palmy. Midweek sorted. Hump day's gone. Thursday, steak, sanger and chips, $15. Tradies, office crew, and anyone with taste buds, that's your lunch and dinner sorted. And Friday, the 50-cent wing ding special. Yes, 50 cents a wing, 6 flavours. Bring you back up, and if you stay long enough, I think you can shuck some oysters. Not the other thing, you can shuck them after 4 to 5 o'clock, I think. Sunday, Irish spice bag and a pint of Guinness just to get rid of the Saturday night, maybe hungover sort of thing. $30, that's a comfortable food done properly. Rob and Katie just aren't running specials. They're keeping Townsville fed without smashing the wallet. So get to the Aussie Hotel, support local legends, grab your mates and tell them Buzz sent ya. Australian Hotel, mates looking after mates. And don't forget.
And it can be any subject you pick. It can be my kidney disease. It'll be what you're fine for. It could be old mate that's just lost their dad down the road or something. But you're not alone, and you got to reach out to people. And I think people are so busy, Ren, as we're talking these days, that they're not concerned about anyone else. And it's almost like bringing back the old yarn again, I think,
Yeah. Yeah.
But you go back to this thing where you said you're a man of your word, black or white. Back when you were in the Burdekin and you made a decision to do something, you couldn't cancel it because there wasn't a mobile phone. You were out on the road. They brought pages in, but you could go to a telephone box and ring. And I remember playing senior footy at 16 down in Melbourne, and I love my training. Like, I want to be better than anyone else. And I'd have to organise to finish my apprenticeship in Springvale, for those that did know Melbourne or not, and get to Mount Waverley. Now, I didn't have a licence, so I had to tee up with some older fella to pick me up at the corner of this amount of time to give me a little footy training. Yeah. Otherwise, I'm fucking walking.
Yeah.
But I had no way of cancelling.
And then back in the day, if you had to ring him and it just turns out that he's out of that STD thing and you've only got 40 cents on you, and then, shit, then you're looking around, bottle of cash in for another 20 cents to the machine. You had to be a bit more.
Yeah, but I think it made us accountable. I think it made us.
What's the word?
Yeah, word. So let's go back, wind it back a little bit. We're getting a bit advanced there. I've got all those questions coming up, but that happens on this podcast. And so tell us about your family life before everything changed.
Yeah. Before everything changed, I was just driving. I was working for a shipping company here in Townsville. I was driving that car.
Right over there.
Second from the left. Yeah. Working there. Then I went on to establishing a crane business in Townsville. And on December 17th, 2007, I got a phone call from my wife at the time, got to get home here. Bub's just been diagnosed with this tumor that they found, and it was, man, oh man, it was just, we had to more or less get down to Brisbane ASAP. We arrived in Brisbane Christmas time, 2007, Buzz, and around about that time, just hustling into a few little rooms, and into one room in particular, and told by the leader of pediatrician down there that, hey, your daughter's going to die. There's nothing we can do. And
How old was Amy? Her daughter? Was her daughter? Amy?
Yeah. So she was 7. We were given a few ancillary treatments to try out. And I cut a long story short, over the subsequent.
So sorry, Ren, they basically said they can't do anything.
No, no. They tried a few little things at the start, Buzz, and then it realised she started reverting back. DIPG is an ugly thing, mate. It's not that easy to talk about because it's like watching a child's whole body metamorphosize in the voice. It's really ugly, mate. They lose their sight, they lose their vision, they lose their tongue, they lose their body changes when they're given steroids and drugs, and then they swell up and their skin splits. They can't go to the toilet. It just affects everything. So in the midst of this hurricane, I was still trying to run the business, traveling to Brisbane a lot and trying to get her treatments. But I just kept getting blank looks from everyone who I approached. But we tried hard. The average lifespan at the time from this disease, Buzz, was between 6 and 9 months. Now, from the stuff that we've fostered in the research advancements, children living longer now, that they live on average sort of 12, 18 months after diagnosis. So,
but still a cruel death.
It's a cruel thing. But on the positive side, DIPG has, it's touted in media and so forth as an always fatal. It's not always fatal. It's a 99% fatality. And you just got to hope that your child or you are in that 1%. And that's what I'd love to put that out there for anyone listening to. Don't accept you've got a terminal illness, or don't accept that there's no 100% in life on any level. So you've got to cling to that. You've got to cling to that little thread of hope, which we did. So Bub lived 16 months after diagnosis, but then right at the end, Buzz, she was so sick, man. She was so sick. And I was always optimistic. I would always be looking for little positive things in her being. that didn't happen at the end. It was kind of like, how would I say? I was always looking for the light at the end of the tunnel. Then come March 2009, I realized it wasn't a light at the end of the tunnel. There was a train coming the other way. So she passed away, March 2009. And that I witnessed the very first and last words of a human being.
It's interesting, and not on the level you're talking about, but the renal doctors at the moment are trying to put me on the kidney list. And in my mind, like, I'm a fighter, man. I'll go down swinging. I don't know the word. I don't know if I like the word resilient, but I'm fucking resilient if you want to. And I believe if I go,
Steel is hard to bend.
if I go and say, yeah, put me on the list, get me one, I've given up. And they say, oh, this is going to happen. I said, no, I like you just saying, and it's quite easy to hear it. I believe I'm the 1% that's going to be a miracle.
You have to be.
Until I'm not a miracle.
You have to be. People put in lotto and it's 300 million to one.
Well, I'm never going to win that because I don't buy a ticket.
No, well, I'm with you.
Yeah.
But the point is you've got to be positive and you've got to, there's always hope, however minimal,
I'm sure there are miracles.
Plenty of people tried to climb Mount Everest before He did it. You know what I mean? So you've just got to keep chipping away and take risks in life. Take risks.
Yeah.
Take responsible risks. Or, like you and I, you can take irresponsible risks.
Some plenty of them. I tell you what, I'm glad how old are you?
55.
I'm glad I met you now and not when you were 30. I think we could have been trouble. We probably would have needed Timmy McKee.
When I got my OAN, I thought, man, they got the wrong person here. They don't know I was a rough edge man. Like,
we'll talk about that later. So, I mean, it's pretty obvious, but I'd love to hear it again from you. Like, is there any other children? No.
So I have an elder son who's 29 and a younger son who's 13.
Okay, so for people listening that are going through something or have got some bad diagnosis, be it any emotional disease, it could be drug addiction or anything like that. What does the family go through emotionally when facing something like this? The highs and lows, yeah.
The outcomes are generally not good.
Yeah.
In the brain cancer sphere, DIPG is a very high mortality rate, and likewise, marriages have a very high divorce rate. It's nearly similar.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are a lot of challenges there. So my ex-wife and I divorced a few years ago. It's a tumultuous time, and especially for guys too. You've got to go through after everything else. Like I had to walk away from my business. Health had significant health issues. Go through all this family court crap. And all this sort of stuff that you haven't justified, stuff that you never thought on earth. But
Gets messy, ain't it?
cyclones hit, but then after the cyclone, things get rebuilt, and I'm in a good place now, guys. I'm with a lady who I'm in a very sound place. I've got the business up and going again. I'm back fundraising, and I've got families again contacting me, appreciative of help. Back in the day, like with your ailment, and you were told there's nothing is nothing. Well, yeah. Now there are treatments and there are refining treatments and the research is happening. And if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, there's so much happening here in Australia that this region, especially Townsville and North Queensland, can hang its hat on, because we started something very special in this city, and it's from just grassroots people who got behind this buzz to get this done. It's clubs like you mentioned on your previous podcast with McKee, Apex and Rotary. Rotary were the very first organisation that were brave enough to throw money behind my mission, over a handshake, mate.
Yeah.
My brand, that's what I mean, is that I will deliver that money and I will follow it through, because I'm a man of my word, I said.
Yeah, I had a similar experience dealing with Rotary. When I got back, I refused the jab, so I couldn't go back to work in New Guinea. And I ended up back in Ballarat, town Coles, and down in Melbourne, we got locked up for 2 years, and I was like a caged fucking lion, bro. You can imagine telling me. I never wore a mask. I got in a bit of trouble for that, but I was with a partner there for 8 years and fly in, fly out. So I'd be away 6 weeks and home 4, renovating our houses. We'd buy. And I decided I didn't really like her living with her. So I did the bulk when Lismore flooded in 2022. Man, like that was beyond comprehension how much water was in that place. But through a friend of a friend got me onto a district governor in Ballarat by the name of Kathy Rivet, who was a Rotary district governor. And I said, Kathy, I'm in Lismore. This is fucked up. I got the ability to build honours. I've designed what I call the Northern Rivers Fast Box, which was a glorified 20-foot shipping container that I could build in 2 days with bondor panel and all that. I said, but these people have got nothing. Their whole life's just gone down the bloody ocean. What can you do? Now, Rorke's, which is the higher end of Rotary, donated $150,000 to me in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Now, I get a bit of a tingle when I do that because it takes 6 months to get that money.
Yeah.
And for some reason or other, they believed in my wife. Do you know what I mean? And you pinch yourself. I said, you're trusting me with that money to build. And we built $15 in people's backyards, which allowed them to come home and put the kids back at school and get back in the community. Their house was rooted.
And regain their dignity.
Yep, the kids are riding down the street. And out of that, I got the government basically said, we'll give you 10 grand a year. They never paid me.
Yeah.
But out of that, and it probably sent me sideways with $250,000, but I didn't do it for any other reason to see the smile on that bloody kid's face or mum and dad getting back into the house, because I had them in motels 60 kilometres away from their town.
Yep. Yep.
And they didn't want them to rebuild. I know it's not the story the same, but it's the same feeling, eh?
Well, Buzz, and for people listening to this podcast who are doing it a little bit tough at the moment, aside from therapy or drugs or whatever, try and get out and do something positive for someone.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's for Rotary or Apex or Lions or whatever, or service stuff. Go and give blood. It's quite, give blood and you'll feel better for yourself knowing you've contributed to someone else's health, potentially life-saving.
Yeah.
Like a local club, as mentioned on previously, just the once a month, just try and give. I just think it's, giving is empowering, but it's hard. It's hard. But
When I have are people scared too, or what is it?
But it is so simple. It's that first step,
Yeah.
I'll tell you now, we all have dark times. I'll book, soon as that cloud of overwhelming hits you, I'll book an appointment and go and give blood. And you go there and you just think, well, I'm giving. And it's just might be selfish, I don't know. But it just feels that you're contributing something. There's no money involved. There's no pressure. You're just giving something. And I think more people should get, especially young people. Watch this documentary on the American Conservation Corps back in the 1920s and 1930s. Try and watch it. There were like over 1 million children just out in America building trails through national parks, replanting trees. It was like a large army all around America of just proactive kids, kind of like a scout movement, but it was just for.
When was that?
In the 1920s and 30s.
Really?
Have a look at it. There's a PBS documentary, and it is fascinating.
So, yeah, that's what we're talking about here. We're not reinventing any wheels, are we?
Not at all.
No.
I read Dick Smith's autobiography, and his claim to fame was, obviously, but knows who Dick Smith was, Australian guy, blah. Take calculated risks all the time. Don't take no for an answer. Evaluate. Don't take calculated risks. But Dick Smith also said, don't be afraid to copy something that's, something has worked historically. He's copying.
Yeah, just repeat it.
Yeah. But have a goes essentially, but give. I think if you give, don't be stuck with the curtains down with the door shut. Get out and try and give.
I've been promoting tomorrow, March 19th, and I'm trying to get a movement going. It's not going to be much tomorrow, but I've given my birthday a purpose now, and it's, I'm calling it World Who Is Your Hero Day, because in my mind, it's going to go global. If I say Townsville, who is your hero day? It'll be Townsville, but I've got world, and it looks big already. But the whole story behind that is 19 minutes of gratitude to someone you love, to tell your hero or your loved one right now, tomorrow, that you love them, not at their eulogy.
Yeah. Yep. Works.
To look them in the eye and say, Dad, yeah, fucking thanks. Or Mum. But if you haven't got one, Ren, walk down the Strand, get your gym gear on, or the mum looks like half the bloody women do down here, and go and give someone a cuddle in the street.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm like?
Fantastic, bloke. Yeah.
I think it's got to work. I mean, it might take a bit of legs, but that's my whole thing. This empathy in my life I've got now from my awakening, and I'm so lucky that Danny sent me to the hospital.
Yeah.
Why did I end up in Townsville, which is the best renal ward in Australia, if not the world? Why did I end up here? You know what I mean? There's too many synergies. And people say, why are you doing this podcast? Why aren't you worried about your health again? My health is really good because I'm doing this podcast. I'm getting energy and hope from doing it. Anyway, it went a bit off track there. So what did the experience teach you about love and family? How'd the other siblings cope?
No, not well. Not well. I was away a lot. Yeah, I may have been, I don't know, in hindsight, I may have been too positive, too demanding. Like I was traveling a lot around all over trying to resource treatment.
Were you ever in denial? And tried to work to cover it?
Yeah. There was so much happening about time, man. I may have been in denial, but Amy would come back with little positive things too, you know. Maybe, but you know, I had a ball, which was my daughter, and I was running for that try line, and I was just trying to sidestep and plow through whatever
was coming at you.
Yep. So I was sort of sole focused. My older son was probably shut out a little bit, and you know he probably holds grudges of that. But I was on a life-saving sort of mission now.
Yeah, you had the blinkers on, and you were
Yeah,
going.
I did have the blinkers on, and I had to, you know, and you know, mercifully, the seeds of all that stuff is being realised today with institutions all around Australia researching this disease. Back in the day, there was nothing. Kids had that. Scientists had no tuners to investigate. So
let's ramp it up in a real positive way, because that's been the downside of it and the strength of Ren Pedersen. But it even gets stronger, and this is where we get into we won't say hero stuff, but I don't know what you call it, mate. Man on a mission. I like the way you described it. I grabbed the ball and I was going to the try line. But and then you did say earlier that you looked your daughter in the eye and said, I'm going to do something about this.
Oh.
And if you've made a commitment and a contract with that, mate, you're not going to give that up to the day you fucking die. But so after losing your daughter, many people would understandably retreat. And I get that. You did the opposite. I suppose it's a rhetorical question, but there might be a little bit more. What made you start Ren's $1 million mission?
Well, mate, I started up a charity that ran for about sort of 10 years, and I didn't realize, and this is a simple crane driver in me, I just wanted to get the job done. I wanted just to do the list, set it up, and tick all the boxes, and that's it. After 10 years, man, it's hard to find a cure for brain cancer. So not only was the research aspect very challenging, you know, the charity snowballed very quickly. I had to put a board of directors was put on, board of something. Then we had to put on a CEO. So all of a sudden I went from, essentially in the business analogy, from a sole trader to a company very quickly. And it was just too hard in the end. So I thought, well, I need to tap out from this. At the time, this would have been about 5 years ago. So my marriage was broken up. It was, to put, very challenging, really, really unhappy, bad marriage. Business shutting down. So all this stuff was happening. Charity was just too hard to manage. So then I thought, in the middle of all this, I need to refocus on something. So I enrolled for my commercial helicopter license.
As you would.
Well, the toughest license in it to take in mind, was it? So, so I did it. I did all that. That took me a little while. So I went and got my commercial helicopter license. That nearly burned me out.
Wow. And that, my friends, is where we'll leave part 1. What a conversation. What a man. And what a reminder that sometimes the strongest people are not the loudest people. They're the ones who have been smashed by life, brought to their knees, watched the unthinkable unfold right in front of them, and still found a way to get back up and keep walking. Today you heard the early foundations of Ren Pedersen, the Burdekin boy, the crane driver, the bloke who never asked the spotlight, the bloke who'd probably still rather be known as just an ordinary working man. But as you've just heard, there is nothing ordinary about what this man has walked through. To sit beside your child in the middle of that storm, to hear the words no parent should ever hear, to carry hope when the world is trying to rip it out of your hands, and then somehow, after the dust settles, after the heartbreak, after the grief, after the fractures in family, business, health, and life itself, to still stand there and say, no, this will not be the end of the story. That takes something different. That takes grit, that takes heart, that takes a kind of love that most people will never fully understand unless they've lived it. What hit me most in this yarn, Ren, is that you never tried to dress yourself up as some polished, untouchable hero. You kept bringing it back to the same thing. I'm just a crane driver, mate. And maybe that's exactly why your story lands so hard. Because it proves that purpose doesn't come with a title. You don't need a fancy office, a university wall full of degrees, or some big public profiles to make a dent in this world. Sometimes the people who change everything are just ordinary blokes and ordinary women who refuse to let pain have the final say. That's what this episode is about. It's about the promise of a father. It's about the weight of a word. It's about what happens when grief gets turned into a movement. And it's about the truth that even when life is cruel beyond belief, there is something in the human spirit that can rise. And I know there'll be people listening right now who are battling something. Maybe it's sickness, family breakdown, grief. Maybe it's depression. Maybe it's the kind of pain you don't even have words for yet. Let this episode be a reminder. You are not alone. There are people out there carrying heavy things. There are people getting up when they don't feel like getting up. There are other people trying to find meaning in the mess. And if Ren's story shows us anything, it's that even the darkest chapter still can give birth to something that helps somebody else breathe again. And let me tell you, that's a powerful thought. This is why we do it. We don't do this podcast for polish. We don't do it for fake perfection. We do it for the real stuff. For the stories that crack people open, for the conversation that makes someone pull the car over, wipe their eyes and think, bloody hell, maybe I can keep going too. So Ren, mate, thank you. Thank you for your honesty. Thank you for your strength. Thank you for your vulnerability. And most of all, thank you for trusting me and trusting this community with a story that carries so much weight, so much love and so much legacy. And guess what? This was only part 1. And trust me when I say there's more to come. Because in part 2, we go deeper into the mission, deeper into the fight, deeper into what really took to turn heartbreak into impact. We'll talk more about the road forward, the work being done, the resilience it takes to keep swinging, and why Ren's journey is about so much more than survival. It's about damn service. So don't go anywhere. Make sure you follow, subscribe, share this one around, and send it to someone who needs to hear it. Because these stories matter, these conversations matter, and the people brave enough to live them and tell them, they matter too. If you want to donate to Ren's cause, Ren's Millionaire Charity, look it up. I'll have links at the bottom of this bio that you can help solve this terrible disease. This is Who Is Your Hero? I'm Buzz. This has been episode 52, Ren Pedersen, part 1, Pain into Purpose. Stay strong, love your people, tell them while they're here. And never wait for the eulogy to say what you've been. And never wait for the eulogy to say what should have been said in life. God bless legends and hero up.